Hi, this is David from Primal Integrate. I'm going to go through the morning routine, CARS, controlled articular rotations. You want to be creating around 20% irradiation. All that means is creating tension in the body while that allows you to move the joint, and it just tries to help keep the body still. I'm going to be using a couple of yoga blocks, and you can use a cushion or anything just to make it a little bit more comfortable for you. I'm going to do it all in the seated position. So I'm going to start with cervical spine. Create a little bit of tension in my fist, a little bit of tension in the midline, and begin by dropping the chin to the chest. I'm slowly rotating the head, kind of trying to drag my chin along the chest till I get as far as I can turn. I'm going to be looking over my shoulder and then slowly letting the head fall back into extension. Eyes to the ceiling and passing over, starting to turn towards the other shoulder, and then slowly dropping the chin to the chest and pass through for rep number 2. So eyes looking over the shoulder again, head's falling back into extension. We've got a little bit of tension there, about 20%. Back over the other shoulder. Come through for rep number 3. So eyes to the ceiling. I've still got a little bit of tension in my body. It's easy to kind of forget what we're doing when we're concentrating on what we're moving. And then from there, going in the opposite direction. So chin to the shoulder, looking over the shoulder, let my head fall back. Eyes towards the ceiling. I'm starting to turn towards the other shoulder. Chin comes to the chest, go through for rep number 2. So if there's any pinching or pain sensations when you're doing any of the movements, just try and navigate around them as best you can. We don't want to be pushing through any pain. So last one. So remember, this is just the morning routine. We're just waking up. Everything's nice and steady. So carrying on with the spine. I'm just going to put a yoga block into my knees. I've got my toes tucked under, coming up onto my knees now and just creating a little bit of tension there. And that's going to allow me to try and keep my hips still as well. And then from there, I'm just going to put my hands resting on my shoulders, and then slowly, keeping my neck roughly in a neutral position, I want to start to slowly bend or slowly fold forward and trying to go moving the spine. So going into flexion, coming forward, still creating a little bit of tension. And from there, so if we come too far forward, we'll start tipping. So as soon as we get to as far as we can go, start turning. And then we're going to do a side bend. I've still got a little bit of tension in my legs. And we're slowly going to start to extend back. And from there, just going to turn, eyes towards the ceiling. Starting to turn, still in extension. Trying to keep the hips just as still as we can, the best we can. It's only the morning routine, so it's okay. There's a little bit of movement. We're just doing nice and warming up everything. And then go through for rep number 2. So dropping back into extension, eyes to the ceiling. So I'm still pushing in a little bit with my knees. That's helping me keep my hips nice and still. That's it, last one. And from there, I'm just going to go in the opposite direction. So we're turning, trying to do a side bend, then extending back, then rotating. So with eyes are towards the ceiling, all the way over into a side bend, and starting to fold forward into flexion. Pass through for rep number 2. I've still got a little bit of tension in that midline, in the legs. Nice and steady, 1 mile an hour. It's going to be the last one. Eyes towards the ceiling. Good. Last one coming in. And stopping there. Good. Okay, from there we're going to do a scapula. So I'll show you from this position. So I'm just going to be seated. I'm going to put my arms out in front, both arms, a little bit of tension in the wrists, roughly neutral back. And from there I'm going to push the shoulders forward from the scapula as far as they can go. Then I'm going to try and imagine there's a shelf or something, and you see your arms don't want to be going up and down, they're just sliding in and out. All the movement is coming from the shoulder. So from there, pushing forward, we're going to lift the shoulders towards the ears. Then we're going to pull the shoulders back, the shoulder blades back. That's going to be into retraction. Then we're going to try and drop them down, that's depression. Push them forward again. So up, that's elevation, pulling back, down and forward, up, pulling back, down, forward, and then back in the opposite direction. So pulling back, lifting them up, pushing forward, down, back, 2 more, up, pushing forward. That's good. Okay, from there go into the shoulders. So I'm going to do this just leaning forward a little bit, so I'm kind of going in a I'm still seated, but I'm just going to plant my hands on the deck, and then from there I'm going to take a hand. This is my left hand. I'm going to turn the palm up, and then I'm just lifting across my body, and hand comes towards the ear, so the palm's facing in, and then from there just going to try and reach back in the biggest circle I can, keeping all the rest of my body nice and straight. So I've got a little bit of tension in my wrist. You could put a yoga block or something in between your knees. All I'm going to do is take it, or from there, sorry, and bring the hand back all the way up and across the body. So again, palms facing up, come across my body. I'm going to lift the shoulder up as best I can. So now my palm is facing towards me, and then from there I'm going to turn the arm, I'm turning the hand, and I'm rotating. I'm trying to reach behind in the biggest circle I can until my arm meets, and now my palm's facing away. And just reverse. So all the way up, down, last one, up, so reaching, biggest circle I can. And across, and plant the other hand down, take the right, or whichever one you're using, across the body, so up towards the ears. Now I'm going to start turning and reaching at the same time. So I'm trying to reach in behind, keeping my arm nice and straight as I get back as far as I can. So I'm trying to turn the arm in and lowering down. Now my palm is facing away from my body, and then I just go reverse, start to rotate all that arm coming from the shoulder. Now my palm's facing towards me as I try and scoop up right to the top, and then slowly lowering back down. That's number 1. So we'll go for another 2 reps. So up, reaching behind. So trying to keep it straight the best we can. That's 2. So 1 more. That's 3. From there we're going to do the, I'm just going to set my yoga blocks again. So from there we'll do the elbows. So hands are out in front with the elbow pits facing up, palms facing up, and then all we're going to do, we're going to flex. So they're just going to create a little bit of tension in the hands. So keeping the elbows in the same position, flexing all the way up. So we can't go any further, and then what we want to do is try and turn the palms of the hands so they're facing away from us, and then just creating a little bit of tension in the hands, slowly pushing down and trying to stop the shoulders from moving. We want to be keeping the pits of the elbows in the same position from there. So coming back up and down. Yeah, I think I turned it in the opposite direction, that's okay. As long as we do 3 one way, 3 the other way. So the palms are now going as I'm pushing down, turning over, coming up. I'll just finish it off. That's it. And from there we do the wrists. So just palms facing up and turning into the midline. I'm going to try and imagine there's something balancing on the wrist, so we want to keep them wrists nice and still and pointing upwards. I'm just going to drop away and try and do the biggest circle we can with the wrists without moving any of the rest of the body or the arms, just the best we can. Just a little bit of tension in the arms, a little bit of tension in my elbows. I'm just doing the biggest circle we can. So again, if you're feeling any pinching or niggling sensations, just navigate around it the best way we can. And then just reverse the direction. Trying to keep the palms nice and flat. If you feel like your fingers are curling up a bit, it's okay, but we're just trying to keep the palms flat for this one. That's it. So from there I'm going to go into I'm going to lean on my side. Doesn't matter which one you do, I'm just laying on my left side. I'm going to do the right hip and have my head on the block or cushion. I'm going to clasp my hands out in front of me, so I'm creating a little bit of tension by doing that, and then I'm going to also push that leg into the ground. That's going to create a little bit of tension to try and keep this midline all nice and still. But again, it's only 20%, so it's not too much tension. It shouldn't be too hard. And then from there, we'll let the knee fall down, and I'm going to pull the knee up as high as we can. But we don't want to be tucking the tailbone in, just roughly if we can, keeping that tailbone nice and straight. And then from there, we'll lift the knee away from the body. I'm going to try and rotate that ankle towards. Okay, and then as soon as that's as far as we can get, we'll just start slowly trying to push the knee back, and this creating this tension in the hands is going to stop our bodies from moving too much. And slowly lowering down, and then bring the knees to meet, and from there we just reverse. So pushing back, lifting the knee up as high as we can, and then now imagine the knee is driving towards the armpit and lowering down, and then back to the beginning. That's one. So 2 more times. Knee comes up, lifting up, turning that ankle towards us, keeping the knee as high as we can, pushing it back, slowly lowering down, knees come to meet, back in the opposite direction. So a little bit of tension in the hands still. And one more, coming up. So I've still got a little bit of tension in the leg on the floor. It's good. Okay, from there I'm just going to swap direction. just placing my head so there's a little bit of comfort, so I'm not having to lift my head off the floor. And from there, clasping the hands again, checking down, seeing roughly nice and straight, a bit of tension in the leg on the floor, and I'm going to bring the knee up towards the chest, high as I can, driving the chest out, keeping that tailbone from stopping it from moving in, lifting there, pulling the ankle towards me, and then just slowly pushing the knee back. Trying to not let my body start to tip away. Knee comes to meet, and then just in the opposite direction. So knee comes up to the armpit, slowly lowering, and that's number 1. So just do another 2 in this direction. Knee coming up, trying to move the ankle towards us, so keeping that knee as high as we can, pushing the knee back. So remember, it's just a morning routine, so it shouldn't be too strenuous. Just trying to get some movement in all the joints. So last one. That's good. So come from there, I'm going to go through the toes, then ankles and knees, and then we're finished. So I'm going to just go in a seated position, hands are back, toes, feet are flat on the floor, and then this one's a little bit tricky. I'm just going to try and lift my big toes off the floor both at the same time while I'm pushing my other 4 toes on each foot down into the floor. And then slowly lowering, pushing the big toes up, just the best you can. You might find these don't move very well. So big toes up, and then from there I want to push both the big toes down into the floor and trying to lift the other 4 toes up on each foot. Slowly lowering down, touching and back up, down, up, and one more down, up, and then from there all 5 toes up. Okay, and then we're going to try and spread the toes and then touch the big toe down, all 5 toes up, spreading the toes, touch the big toe down, all 5 up, spreading the toes just the best you can, touching down, up, and then from there holding the big toes up, touching them down, up, holding the other toes up, down, up, one more, down, up. Okay, from there go over the ankles. So I'm just going to put my hand underneath, okay, just grabbing my wrist and then grabbing my hand there. That's just going to stop my shin and my knee from coming into the play while we're moving the foot. And from there I'm just going to hold that in nice and tight, just pressing down with the foot into the midline and then just pulling the foot up and just try and do the biggest circle you can. Down, into the midline, up, down and up, and then just 3 in the opposite direction. So nice big circles. That's 2, one more. That's 3. And then while we're there, we're just going to, this is just like a way we can hold the leg from moving. So from there, I'm just going to move my hand up, bring my arm over the top, and now I'm holding my leg in nice and tight, and then pull the foot up, and then I'm going to turn it out away from my midline. Then I'm just going to slowly extend the knee. And from there I want to be turning, so I'm trying to turn from the knee so the foot is now pointing in towards my midline and then lowering down or flexing from there, turning back out, extend, turning in and flex. So one more, out, extend, in, flex. Now just go in the opposite direction. So up to the top, now turning the foot out, flex, turning in, extend, out, flex, in, out, and flex. And I'll come on to the opposite. So again, hand comes underneath, okay, just grabbing on the top of my wrist and just holding the hand, just going to try and stop any movement. So while I'm taking my ankle through the circle, so from down, okay, just into the midline and then pulling the foot up, and just going to try and do the biggest circle again I can. Down, up, so nice and slow, down, and opposite direction. 1, 2, last one, 3, and then from there just going to bring my hand up to the pit of my elbow, bring the hand over the top. Now I can hold my leg. Do the same again with the knee now. So I'm going to try and drive the rotation from the knee and turning my foot out, extend, turning my foot in, flex. So out, extend, in, flex, out, extend, in, and flex, and then opposite direction. So staying out, extending, turning in, flex, out, in, flex, one more, out, extend, in, and flex. Yes, I hope you enjoyed that. I was just going through the morning routine, roughly 20%. You can be doing that in the mornings. It can be done throughout the day, anytime you want, before you go to bed. It's just a nice, easy, yeah, thank you.